Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of FFB from the 50, where we tackle every issue from both sides of the field. Brought to you by JDP Media. Alright, I'm here with Dave. We're here for our second edition of Fireside Fantasy Football Chat. Week 1 is in the books, so we're going to talk about that. But before we do, go back, watch our first video that we did together. Highly entertaining. I suggest you watch it. Make sure you leave your comments. We ask a lot of questions. We want your input on these. This is a conversation-based video, so you're invited to join us. All right. So here we go. Week 1 is in the books. I'm going to ask you a series of questions about some games around the league, and I want you to tell me what's real, what's not real, your takes on it.
Fine. I'll tell you this, though. You want to know what's real? The Bears won.
Bears!
Stop Bears! Stop Bears!
Huge Bears
It's
fans
good.
in the house.
Ah.
All right, well, let's start right there because I've got a couple questions about that game. I want
Okay.
your take on it. So, just so you all know, Dave and I are both long-suffering Bears fans. So, we've been following the team for years. We watch every single game, every single snap, even when the Bears stink. So, I
The
think
greatest thing invented was DVR.
Indeed. So, I think we're qualified to talk about the Bears. We know them well. So, I'm going to ask you just some real quick questions. Number one, Matt Eberflus, the head coach. Now, this is a fantasy football channel, so I want to take this in the direction of fantasy football.
I can only tell you, man, Eberflus, one word: accountability.
And that's something that's been lacking, absolutely lacking for the Bears the last couple of years. So, from a fantasy football perspective, I want to talk about this because the Bears have been the laughing stock of pretty much everywhere. Correct me if I'm wrong, folks. Put down in the comment section if you think I'm wrong. But pretty much the only two players on the Bears that were getting any love in any fantasy circles, Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet. And neither one of them being taken very high. Justin Fields wasn't getting any love. David Montgomery, people keep fading on him. He was drafted, but a lot of people think Khalil Herbert's going to cut into that role. Were there any other wide receivers taken for the Bears in any fantasy circles? Not that I know of.
Not that you know of. But the basic thing with that is, though, but nobody knows them. So a lot of people that play fantasy go with who they know. They don't see what they can do. So like the Bears wide receivers in my mind are going to be a mid-season type look, because you'll have 1 or 2 or 3, 4 games that you're going to be able to see what actually is going to happen. And I hate to say it, I love the win on Sunday. I love it, love it, love it, love it. But that is no way to measure the Niners or the Bears at this point.
So
that was a ridiculous monsoon. That field was completely and utterly trash. They just put in new Bermuda grass, which should have made it so much faster, which then would have probably paralleled towards the 49ers, who could have used Trey Lance to run. So if you had started Trey Lance, you should have watched the weather because you should have pulled him out.
right. So
Just going to tell you that.
Funny story, guys. I drafted Deebo Samuel, and I actually benched him for week 1. Just saying. Pay attention, weather matters. All right, so if I said week 1, Bears 49ers, the best player on the field was the rain, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. It was the rain. There was nobody really well. I will say Fields showed he can manage a bad weather game with less turnovers than the other team, basically. But, yeah, it might be a long season for the Bears. I'm going to have to wait and see for how the weather was a big factor.
You want to hear something that should excite you as a Bears fan? Because I know it excited me.
I'm always excited as a Bears fan.
So PFF came out with their grades, and
they got like an A. They got like
well,
an A.
Tevin Jenkins, folks. If I heard this correctly, if I'm not, again, go down to the comment section. Let me know I'm wrong. I love being told I'm wrong. But if I heard this correctly, Tevin Jenkins actually had a top 10 grade as a guard in the NFL for week 1.
Well, yes. Because it was weather aided.
I understand that.
I can't. But you're making an argument on a game that was made in mud,
right?
And you can't judge anything on that game. You cannot. Right. As much, and I want to be happy with the Bears, but that game was awful to play in.
Right. But one of the plays that they focused in on was the block that he put on Bosa, where he didn't just put the block on Bosa; he stayed with the block. Now that's the kind of stuff that we saw him do at Oklahoma State that got him drafted in the 2nd round.
And that's great.
So,
but I'll tell you what, I want to see that. I want to see that next week and the week after that when the rain is not a factor.
Okay.
Because if you have a team that's built on speed as an edge rusher in Bosa, like if you have a league that does defense and defensive players, like I have a league that does that, you would not. I have him. I did not start him because it's a slippery field. It's a slippery turf.
Okay.
And that's kind of a risk you take because it could also be slippery for the offensive tackle. So,
Right.
but the offensive tackle knows what the play is. The defensive line does not. So they already have that first step. And in football, that first step, that first 30-second, that first second and a half or half a millisecond makes every difference.
All right, folks. So what I'm hearing from him is
You can't trust anything in that
can't
game.
trust anything in the game. Would you say that weather matters?
Weather matters drastically.
Absolutely, folks. Absolutely. So,
So all these experts that give grades and all this stuff, I
kind of throw that one out. All right.
it's
so,
week one and it was a monsoon.
There was something that I thought was kind of interesting, and this is non-weather related because the weather was the same for both guys. Okay, last year Khalil Herbert averaged 5 yards per carry plus.
True.
Okay, David Montgomery did not, but David Montgomery is being used in other ways. Do you think Khalil Herbert is the real deal and will eventually, maybe even next year, take over that backfield from David Montgomery? Or will it happen this year? Will it not happen at all? What do
Well,
you
now
think?
you're getting into
Get your crystal ball out, Dave, because
Yes.
because
now
essentially,
we need like a Swami or a
Right.
Seisu.
But essentially, folks, isn't that what fantasy football is all about?
It's pretty much. It's
trying to predict. Trying to predict. Okay, so
So,
now
if I had
ask
to
you,
put money on it, yes, I think he's the next step up in the running back department
Okay.
from Montgomery.
How soon?
It could be next year. It all depends on Montgomery's contract situation.
Okay.
And that's what it comes down to.
All right.
So, and if he gets hurt, because he does have a history of a little bit of injury.
okay.
So,
I'm
you have to
gonna
look at it that way.
I'm gonna ask you a series of questions, and I just need a simple answer. All right. So
Cheese.
when it came down to it, who made more plays in that game?
For the Bears.
Okay. Who won the game?
The Bears.
Okay. Who has $100 million in cap space to play with next year?
Actually, 130. The Bears.
Okay. All right. So, you know what I just heard there 3 times in a row?
The
Bears.
The Bears.
Bears. All right. So, Bears fans, I do think you should be excited. The 49ers came in. We took care of business. Yes, the weather stunk, but it stunk for both teams. Needles pointing up. I
But
love.
fantasy point of view, weather matters.
It always matters. Pay attention. I can't tell you, like last year, you remember the game Cleveland Browns were playing? I can't remember who they were playing. I want to say it was against the, in fact, I know it was against the Ravens because they had Lamar Jackson. Winds were gusting like 50 miles an hour. I actually benched Lamar Jackson, which I know, folks, sounds crazy. He's a running quarterback. Why would you bench a running quarterback in those conditions? He scored 12 points.
Yeah.
I went out and picked up somebody off of free agency that scored more. Weather matters. Pay attention. You see those snow games. You see the rain games, the wind games.
Mhm.
I mean,
It adjusts the offense. So if you have a team that's old school based running attack, those weather games, that's who you're going to want to look at.
right.
So, but this league, it's hard to find that.
It is.
Because they all throw it.
Right.
So nobody's adjusted to this non-shotgun type offense. And so that's why people look at the Buccaneers, who have a run base, old school quarterback, and then you have phenomenal wide receivers and a top tier defense.
Right.
So am I saying the Buccaneers are going to be tough? Yes.
Yep.
But-
And we're going to actually get to the Buccaneers because
But
I got some questions
But
for you. about
outside
that.
influences do affect the way a player plays. So you have to pay attention to the media.
Yeah.
Oh, well, in a little bit of sense.
Can we say that maybe last year outside influences really affected one of the Tampa Bay wide receivers?
Yes, a little bit.
Mid-game?
Mid-game,
All right.
a little bit.
We'll get to the Buccaneers here in a little bit, folks, because I do want to get Dave's opinion on a guy that's near and dear to my heart. Don't want to spoil it. Make sure you stay tuned and keep watching this video. But as a Bears fan, I have to admit, I took absolute delight in what I saw in Minnesota. Not because I'm rooting for Minnesota. I'm a Bears fan. I hate Green Bay with a passion. Now
I'll correct him a little bit. That word is a bit harsh.
I flipping hate Green Bay. That wasn't harsh enough.
Yeah.
All right. So, but having said that, we talked about
Now
this
they
in
are
our
a good
last-
fan base, nice people, good peeps. They are good people. Just, green and yellow is not my color.
or cheese on your head.
Or cheese on my head.
Cheese on your,
I
right.
like cheese graters. I mean, those are nice.
cheese on my pasta.
Yeah, that's
Sandwich.
good. But you gotta have a cheese grater, which you can grate the cheese that you would get out of Wisconsin and grate it on top of your pasta. Getting hungry right now.
Oh, we gotta stop talking about food, guys. You can see you got two big fellas here. Let's not talk about food because
I love food.
all of a sudden my stomach's gonna be louder than what we're saying. It's gonna take over
ground.
the show. All right, so having said that, I hate the Packers. That's not an exaggeration. I hate the Packers. However, that does not stop me from drafting Packer players. Okay, and we talked about that in our last Fireside chat. Go out and check out that video. In fact, I want you to do me a favor. Go down to the comment section right now. Let me know what team you absolutely hate and you love watching them lose, but every year you find yourself taking one of their players just because they're so dang good, you can't help yourself. But let's get back to the Packers because I am going to roast Aaron Rodgers, and I want you to let me know if I'm on base or off base. So
I will let you know, and I'll be honest, from a fantasy football fan and not as a Bears fan, I will let you know.
Okay, so here's my take on Aaron Rodgers. Is he one of the greatest of all time? No.
Absolutely not.
Should he be with his talent?
He should, but I think he should figure out what he needs to do to be great because he's not a leader on that team.
Right.
He's in his own little world with his decorative Halloween costumes and dressing up as Nicolas Cage and Keanu Reeves for Halloween last year. And then going out to
visiting.
Where did he go out to Ecuador to get
South America to go
cleaned out or something?
So and that's exactly the point that I want to make.
But the point is, if you're looking at that as Aaron Rodgers, I mean, my question is, did he call his rookies receivers in over the summer and say, hey, let's go throw some patterns? Did he call them in to do that? You're getting paid ridiculous amount of money, and like, hey, come on, rooks, I've lost my best receiver. Let's go in here and let's practice. And let's do that. So do you think they have any accord with him? No.
So folks, go out to, I believe it's going to be, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, episode 6, where we review week 1 and talk about what's coming up week 2. I did my 5 up, 5 down. Mm-hmm. I actually put Aaron Rodgers in my 5 down because of that exact reason. Now,
you need to be in that down because...
Well, here's my problem with Aaron Rodgers. Number one, my opinion as a Bears fan, this is a strong opinion, folks. I know it is. Yeah, I just spit. Sorry. I know this is a strong opinion, folks, but if you are the leader of that team, you have to be there for those rookie wide receivers. Mm-hmm. When OTAs came around, was he there?
No, he was
absolutely
cleaned
not.
Out or something.
Yeah, he was down in Ecuador smoking something funky or drinking something funky, mushroom stew.
Yeah, stewish.
Yeah, it's not banned by the NFL.
Probably smelled like stew too. I mean, he probably stank.
Did you see the way he looked? Wouldn't be surprised.
Freaking
Aaron Rodgers, I know you're watching this video. I can't stand you right now, bud. Just being honest.
I'll be honest, man. I respect him as a player, as a football player. But man, if you want to be a leader and win and get that coveted ring, that you should have three or 4.
With his talent,
and should have been playing Tom Brady all those years.
I was gonna say with his talent, there's no reason. There's no reason that Tom Brady's biggest rivalry shouldn't have been with him or with Peyton Manning. It should have been with him.
Yeah, in the Super Bowls.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. So Aaron Rodgers, instead of showing up to OTAs with these rookie wide receivers that they've gotten, was God knows where doing God knows what, right? Now here's the issue. I was listening to, I listened to Sirius XM. I listened to Channel 88, which is the NFL station on there, and Channel 87 on Sirius XM, which is their fantasy sports. Not just fantasy football, but right now, let's be honest, fantasy football is king. And they made the same point. Like, Aaron Rodgers, where were you when these rookies come in? By now, you should know who they are, what they're about. You should be taking a bigger role and training them to be who you want them to be. And instead, you skip OTAs and then you call them out publicly during training camp. Where were you? So, my question, as a Bears fan, to somebody who is going to try to be impartial.
Impartial.
Looking at this from a fantasy football perspective. All right. Is this something that they will correct? Because we know he had a bad week 1 last year. He was dialed out throughout the entire offseason, mad because they went out and got his replacement, as he put it. And they laid an egg against the Saints in week 1. Is this real? Or is this something that he will eventually get on the same wavelength as his wide receiver?
Hold that question till week 4.
Okay.
Because
you're saying reserve judgment.
You can't make that determination right now because it is week 1.
Okay.
And there's 18 weeks in the season.
Can I say something?
Yeah. Get in here, Joe.
Last year, they lost to the Saints 38-3.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's my point. I mean, they make that, they have those losses and then they correct them.
He had 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The world was going to come to an end.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up
in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, because
13-4.
yes,
He ended up with 4 total interceptions for the year.
We have a Packers fan in the
No,
but that's
just reality.
That's
he threw 2 interceptions.
That's where I was
and
going.
37 touchdowns the following 6 games.
This is true, but last year he had Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question is, there were a lot of folks.
Did Devontae Adams have 37 touchdowns?
He had a lot. Not
He
37.
did. He did, but somebody else he threw to other people too.
This
But
is
here's
true,
the
but,
thing.
but they
But
got to
here's
get
the
down
thing.
to the red
But
zone.
here's the
and
thing: your defense is schemed towards Devontae Adams because you know he's going to get the ball, so that opens up the other 2 people.
Are his other wide receivers good enough to face
are
the
his
number
other
one
wide
corners?
receivers good enough
Right.
to break that coverage?
We'll see.
Or do you blitz him now and make him show you that these receivers can play?
This guy wants me to bench Aaron Rodgers.
I concur.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I concur.
So
And that's why I said week 4. Wait till week 4. These first 3 games will show you if they've improved.
now here's the question though. There were a lot of folks that started Aaron Rodgers in week 1 that lost. We can't afford to go 0-4 to start the season, so we got to have a backup plan,
So
right?
who are they playing?
So this week they're playing the Bears.
Oh, that's right. Sunday night.
Yeah, we got up at by Green Bay.
What do you think
So-
his career stats are against the Bears?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I would start Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so
I'll take that back. Sorry. I thought it wasn't this week. I thought it was Sunday night next week. So,
I'm going to disagree with that.
No.
folks. All right,
No,
so
I would put him in there.
here's what.
Because
here's
I'll
what
tell
I
you
did.
right now, that's an AJ Dillon game.
So here's what I did, folks. I can't afford to go 0-4 in a league because my quarterback's holding us down. I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to right the ship. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I can't afford a second loss in a row. My pride won't allow it. So here's what I did.
Is that at Soldier?
No, it's up in Lambeau.
No, start
Okay.
Rodgers.
So, but I think they're going to run the ball on the Bears.
It doesn't matter. They run the
Folks.
ball. Here's the problem. They run the ball. The Bears are going to start packing the back in the box. And what's going to happen is
What did you say they're going to do?
they're going to pack the box.
They're going to what?
They're pack the box. They're
They're
going to put 8 men in the box.
They're going to pack the box against the Packers?
Yes, pretty much. And so, but anyway, so what they're going to do then, they're going to come in like that, and Rodgers, he's going to have those rookies learn this week at least a few audible changes, and I guarantee when they see that, as long as these rookies are smart, they'll figure that out, and they're going to run some slants on the Bears on their blitzes, and then we're going to end up they're going to break one, and I mean, there's my prediction.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm a diehard Bears fan, but this is not our year.
All right.
It's not our year. Last
Yeah.
week was a fluke. It was a fluke.
And I'm not going to argue against that. Bears.
No.
But I am going to say the one thing that Aaron Rodgers has going for him this week, if you're looking for the silver lining other than playing the
he's got his
Bears,
tackle back too.
Bakhtiari is back, and then Alan Lazard came back to practice.
Yes.
Today, first day he's practiced in 2 weeks after getting stepped on.
And here's the thing: if Lazard establishes himself early, that means the Bears and Eberflus's defense is going to have to shift to Lazard, which means it's going to open up all the other rookies, which is going to give them.
Well, that's
confidence.
great. He can pass the ball to Christian Watson, who'll just let it clink off his hands in the end zone again.
Yeah, that'll change. Otherwise, he'll be gone after week 2.
Right. So, folks, here's my point. You don't ever want to bet against Aaron Rodgers. He has righted the ship in the past, but if you are just not sure, if you're worried about the chemistry he has, go out, check free agency. So here's what I did. Kirk Cousins was available.
Oh,
Now, changes things a bit, right? Kirk Cousins has Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne. He's got Irv Smith, who did nothing in week 1, but is supremely talented. They went out and picked up Jalen Reagor. Dalvin Cook can catch the ball out of the backfield. Alexander Madison can catch the ball out of the backfield. Their new head coach looks like that offense is going to be a lot more dynamic under him. If you have a guy like Kirk Cousins, oh, by the way, they're playing against Philadelphia, who will put up a lot of points and just gave up a lot of points to Detroit. If you have a quality guy like that on your free agency, go get him. I actually benched Aaron Rodgers this week in order to put Kirk Cousins in, but I'm going to defend both Joe and Dave. We did not drop Aaron Rodgers. He is sitting on the bench. I'm not saying go out and drop Aaron Rodgers.
As in your
saying-
play there, picking up Kirk Cousins, that's a great play.
Right?
It's a great play.
So that
now,
changes things.
statistically speaking, in the history of the Bears and Packers at at Lambeau Field, I would start Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
I just don't see. I don't see how you can't. Next year might be a different story when the Bears go out and get some top tier wide receivers and defense.
Offensive line, some wide receivers. Let's protect the field.
$130 million in cap space.
But here's the thing, though. Like, I think Ryan Poles actually has a plan.
Oh, he does, and
And-
I'm thrilled about it.
Right.
And that's why I'm okay. I can sit back this year. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna be painful,
Mhm.
but it's okay.
So, Bears
Kinda like
fans
the
out
Irish.
there. Notre Dame fan here, 0-2 start, Marshall.
Oh, technically 0-3.
We'll share a story about going to a Notre Dame game. 8 cheeseburgers, a jalapeno pepperoni pizza, and a full bag
you
of
can't hold your
Twizzlers.
beer, man.
8 cheeseburgers.
You like drinking. He drinks a beer and then walks to Dairy Queen and get another cheeseburger and walks back. Has another beer, walks to Dairy Queen, gets another cheeseburger, and walks back.
Man. Folks, I had 8 cheeseburgers. I want to keep this as PG as possible, but once the seal's broken,
It wasn't even broken. It was like a fire out. It's like you didn't even know where he was.
man.
And then you try to walk to the stadium, you're like, are you gonna make it? I'm like, no. I'm like, go in the pine tree.
yeah.
Like, I mean, come on.
This fella here found the bushes and almost found the police officer, but we're not going to get into that. Let's
It
get
was
back.
all right.
We'll get to that
Little
story in a
high
little
five.
bit.
Hey, how you doing? Great, sir.
Yeah, I don't think he was impressed, but well, maybe he was.
He might have been.
I think
Yeah.
he winked at
He
you.
might have.
I think
It's
he
hard
winked
telling.
back.
Yeah, I might have.
So,
At that
all right,
point-
PG.
At that
PG.
point.
No more. All right.
No, he was
So-
just telling me go Irish. So.
I have a question to ask. All right, so we both said we believe in Ryan Poles. We believe in the system. Next year should be good. Ryan Poles, protect Justin Fields, get him some weapons. Let's address that defense. Let's be great. But we're going to play hypothetical because, again, folks, fantasy football is all about prediction. It's all about
And that's what you have to
hypotheticals.
take out of it. It comes back to what we discussed earlier: is the fan versus fantasy. You can't
Right.
when you're playing fantasy. You have to focus on fantasy. You have to focus on strategy. You have to focus on matchups, weather, opponents. You can't just be a fan rooting for your team.
Right.
And that's a big it's a big challenge, and it happens, especially if you have a good fan team. If the Bears are really good, it's going to be extremely hard for me not to put a bunch of Bears in my lineup or start an entire Bear team.
Folks, go back out, take a look at the first Fireside fantasy football video that we put together, and look at what Goodwater did as a Colts fan.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so hypothetically speaking, all right, so I'm plugging as a Bears fan. I'm back to Aaron Rodgers now. If Chicago goes up to Green Bay, and Green Bay lays another egg offensively, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your concern level with any of the skill position players in Green Bay? Because when you look at the stat lines for Dillon and Aaron Jones, it wasn't terrible. But you look at Aaron Rodgers, you look at the wide receivers, hugely disappointing. So if the Bears can go up to Lambeau and shut that offense down, hypothetically speaking, they won't have the weather helping them, although the weather in Green Bay is, again, supposed to be rainy.
Mm-hmm.
Looking ahead, folks, weather does matter. If they go up and they shut Green Bay down again, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your level of concern for Aaron Rodgers and the passing attack? I'm not talking running backs. I'm talking about the passing attack for Green Bay.
1.5.
Okay, so still not concerned. You're
No,
sticking with that
it's
4
week
weeks?
4. You need to
Okay.
give. This is what I've always said when Tom Brady was in New England. You take those first 4 weeks of the season. You're throwing whatever you can throw out there to see what works. So you're taking the best out of those first 4 weeks, and then you're structuring those into that next week. Those next 4 weeks, you're playing this in 4-week sections from a team managing point from a football team.
Okay.
So, and with Rodgers and that the coaching staff and the offense, and they have a much better defense because they gave up 23 points to Minnesota.
Yeah, 23 to 7. I think
That's
was the final
not very much in this
No.
day and age of football.
No.
So basically,
And as a Bears fan, has me concerned because
Yes.
I think the Minnesota offense is a lot better
yes,
than the Bears. They only
exactly.
scored 23.
That's my point. That's where I was getting at is
Yeah.
because that offense is really much better than the Bears with all the weapons and a controlled Kirk Cousins behind the ball with a defense. So you have a defense now with Kirk Cousins. The Vikings look extremely, extremely good.
Right.
They do. So, and on top of that, so now back to your question. No, it's week 4 for me. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 for me for Rodgers.
Okay.
And statistically speaking, from a fantasy point, and what Rodgers has done with the Bears over the past 20 years, is you start Rodgers.
Right. So, and I'm going to say, folks,
He may not get you He may get you 12 or 15 points, but that means somebody else though is going to have the points. So
Right.
it's going to be a running back. It's going to be somebody of that nature. Even his tight end,
Tanya.
Tanya.
Yep.
So,
And that's what I was going to say. Folks, I don't think the cupboard is as bare as what a lot of people are making it out to be. You still have Alan Lazard. What is he, 6'4", 6'5"? He's a big fella.
no, he's a good receiver.
Right.
The only problem is he had Dante Adams last year to take away a lot of the top tier corners and strong safeties from shadowing him.
Right. So we'll see. And then you have Robert Tonyan. But I want to transition a little bit, but I want to make a final point about Green Bay, or ask a question about Green Bay. So I've always made the argument that Juju Smith-Schuster was a better number 2, was never really suited to be a number 1. So when he played for Pittsburgh, he was great in that number 2 role, so long as Antonio Brown was taking away the better corners. Now we see he's with Kansas City. He actually looked pretty good in week 1, but Travis Kelce's the number 1 target there, so he's back to being the number 2 in the passing game. Is Alan Lazard going to be able to step up and take that number 1, or is he another Juju who is better suited for that wide receiver 2 role?
What I see right now is a Juju.
Okay.
Is what I see. But, like I said, week 4, let's see what happens in the next 3 weeks.
Okay, so final take on Green Bay, folks. Don't panic. Basically, stay tuned.
Yeah, because
But
especially
have
now,
your backup
this is
plan.
sections. Because I'll be honest with you, I predict the Packers to be 12-5 this year, or
Okay.
13-4.
Gotcha.
So,
And if they are,
I
that
mean,
means
I
they
really
put
do.
points.
So, and that's because they will right the ship. They got a great head coach who knows football. He was under the Shanahan system, and honestly, Aaron Rodgers will get it down. He doesn't want to lose. I mean, no
Right.
matter how you play it, the dude don't want to lose.
Right.
Even though he's weird, he doesn't want to lose.
He is a little weird. All right, so
he's
folks,
odd. I mean, I respect his game. Like I respected Brett Favre's game, but I mean, I would never root for him.
Right.
So
you still have Alan Lazard. You've got Robert Tonyan. Don't forget Aaron Jones is still there. He loves
Yes.
to pass to Aaron Jones out of the backfield.
and
A.J. Dillon is
coming
a-
on.
Yep,
That's a stud.
he's a capable
He's
pass
gonna be,
catcher.
He's going to be your running back in solid and running back in Green Bay for the next years to come.
Gotcha. So don't panic. Don't give up on your Green Bay folks. Have a backup plan. Make sure those folks are there. That way you can get through the first few games of the season until they jump. All right. Fair enough?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Fair
Go
enough.
Bears.